There's a tax-free payment worth around $129 to $75 every 3 months, and if you've skipped filing because you thought you had nothing to gain, you may have already missed over $500 the government was ready to send you. The simple version is that the GST or HST credit is a tax-free quarterly payment from the CRA to help lower-income Canadians offset the sales tax they pay all year. I read the fine print so you don't have to, and here's the complication. There's no application form and no button to press. The whole thing hinges on one action most people skip, which we'll get to next. Here's the part almost nobody understands. Your tax return is the application. According to CRA guidance, there is no separate form to fill out. The moment you file, the CRA automatically works out whether you qualify and exactly how much you get. That's why a low-income person who never files receives nothing, even when they'd clearly be eligible. Once you file, the CRA looks at what it calls your adjusted family net income. Your income combined with your partner's, plus how many children under 19 you have. Per the CRA's rules, that single figure determines your entire credit. If you don't file, the CRA simply has no ingredients to work with, so the answer defaults to 0. For the July 2025 to June 2026 benefit year, the maximum is $533 for a single adult, $698 for a couple, and $184 for each child under 19, according to taxtips.ca and CRA figures. Notice the timing. This year's payment is calculated from your 2024 tax return. So filing late doesn't just cost you now, it delays a payment stream that's always running a year behind. Rather than one lump sum, the credit is split into 4 quarterly payments, arriving around the 5th of January, April, July, and October, per CRA schedules. For 2026 specifically, the dates are January 5th, April 2nd, July 3rd, and October 5th. A single person at the maximum would see roughly $133 each quarter, steady, predictable, and completely tax-free. The maximum isn't all or nothing. Above a phase-out threshold, $45,421 for the 2025 to 2026 period, per taxtips.ca, your credit is reduced by 5% of every dollar over that line. Think of it as a dimmer switch rather than an on-off switch fading out gradually. But here's the key point, that reduction can only be calculated if you've actually filed. Here's the myth that costs people the most. Filing is only for those who owe tax. Wrong. The credit is tax-free, isn't counted as income, and doesn't reduce other benefits like the GIS or OAS, per CRA explanations. Even a return showing 0 tax owing unlocks the full payment. Before I get to the last part, which is the most counterintuitive piece of all, here's what the brochure quietly leaves out. The catch is how silently the losses stack up. A single person missing $519 to $530 a year, per CRA and taxtips.ca figures, barely notices any single missed check. But skip 5 or 6 years and you've forgone thousands of dollars that were genuinely yours. And if this breakdown is useful, subscribe. The next one's already coming. Now the most counterintuitive part. Starting July 3rd, 2026, this credit gets renamed the Canada Groceries and Essentials Benefit, with a 25% increase for 5 years and a one-time top-up worth 50% of the 2025-26 credit, per CBC and Loans Canada reporting. Tax guides estimate a single person could see about $950 in 2026-27, then roughly $700 a year after. Not filing now means missing both the base credit and every top-up on top of it. Picture Jasmine, a retail supervisor in Ontario, earning $32,000 with a 5-year-old, who never filed because she believed filing was only for people who owe tax. For 2024 to 2025, a single parent with 1 child could receive up to $690 in credit, per CRA figures. That's $174 fifth out every quarter she left behind. One filed return, even showing 0 tax, would have started that money flowing. The real value isn't one check, it's the habit. Filing every single year, even on a low income, protects the base credit and every future enhancement per CRA and published estimates. For someone in Jasmine's position, the modeled lifetime total can comfortably exceed $10,000. Set your CRA My Account to direct deposit, file annually, and let the quarterly payments run on autopilot. So the mechanism is simple. No return, no credit, but one filed return unlocks payments that keep arriving 4 times a year. Next, I'm breaking down exactly how the new Canada Groceries and Essentials Benefit top-up is calculated, and who gets the biggest check. If you want to catch that, subscribe so you don't miss it.